Join us as we delve into some of the hot topics that both unite and divide us. We won't always agree, but let's commit to having those difficult conversations and open up some thought-provoking dialogue so that together we can start the process of getting back together. Listen, we've thought about it. We've even thought about it. Now let's talk about it with yours truly, James Kirkland, on the Intellectual Stew. There we go. Bam. Oh. Hey, what's up? What it do? Time for another episode of the Intellectual Stew with yours truly. Well, hold on before I do all that. Pastor Evans, can you hear me? I see, man. I see that you're in the back room, but I don't see your face. So if you're there, can you turn your camera on if you can figure that part out while we invite people in? If you're in the back room, if you're in the audience, please, ma'am, please, sir, say hello. Say how you're doing. Let me know where you're listening from. And where you're listening from, what city, what state. What's up, Dennis? What's going on? Let me find out you got them vocals on deck, man. Please, I just hum every now and then and sing, as Alicia calls it, I sing a little A and B selection every now and then. A little something like that. Hey, for real, y'all, this is open mic night. I'm trying to find a link right now. Trying to find one. Hold on. Go out and come back in. Or use your phone. Hold on. I'm trying to get him in. All right. Yeah. We go. No, it should say allow. I'm trying to help my guests get in because I'm trying to have a panel tonight. For real. It's open mic night. So let me get this link on for you all. So if anybody wants to jump on, they can jump on. One thing at a time. First this, then I'll do that. Organize your thoughts. What's up? What y'all want to talk about tonight? What y'all want to talk about? I was gonna do a little bit of kind of some of the things that we've talked about over the last few weeks. If you all have any questions about those things, let's talk, man, for real. I want to keep real relevant. Talk about real issues. Talk about real faith. Because this thing is challenging, man. It's real, but we can make it. Real talk, and we've made it. That's the powerful part for me is that we've made it. Still don't see you, Doc. I don't know what's going on with that. We should have did test this earlier. Hopefully you can hear me when I call you, but I don't know what it is, but I can't see you, Dr. Evans. Turn your camera. Maybe your camera's turned around the wrong way. See if you can reverse it or something. I don't know, but I can't see you. All right, but yeah, y'all come up. Yeah, real. Let's talk. Real, whatever y'all want to talk about. The other link is I'm gonna put the phone number up. It's hot in here. I'm gonna put the phone number up. Let me do that, so that way I can have the phone number available. And really, real talk, man. Whatever y'all see it. There it is. Open mic night. Open mic night. I see Greg in the room, in the house. I see Alicia in the house. I see Gabbard Smith in the house. I see people. They're here. So that's good. So we might not be able to see past that. Go out. I don't know what to tell you, Doc. But I wish I could see you. I really wish I could see you. I wish I could see you. Can you hear? Hey, what's up, Sharon, Denise? Hey, it's open mic night tonight, Sharon. So we're talking about whatever. I'm going to share my stuff in a minute, and I really want that. Dr. Okay, Edwin Strickland, he's in the house tonight. Listen. The link. Let me take the Cash App stuff down, y'all. If it gets good, then y'all want to bless a brother, y'all can do it. But yeah, man, what's up? It's open mic night. Listen, I've been dealing with Joseph's journey. I've been dealing with the grace gap. I've been dealing about being able, in order to be able to really give grace, you got to know how to receive grace. And I've been dealing with a whole lot of different things, practical issues, as it relates to some of the things that we deal with in the world, the principles that we take out of church, right? So we're gonna do that tonight. But I want to share a testimony. Let me see if I can at least hear him, because I can't see him, but at least I can hear him. Dr. Evans, can I hear you at least? Are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, I don't know why I can't. You want to be in the dark tonight? You mustn't get your hair cut.
no hair, so I don't know what that is.
I'm jumping. All right, so y'all, we can start it like this. Pastor Strickland, if you want to jump in, you can help me too, for real. Because I have a confession. I really have a confession. And you're a licensed therapist, doc, so you can help me through this, okay? Yesterday, I didn't go to church. I didn't go to church yesterday. For me, it was almost a mental health decision. I didn't go because, and it started with me on Saturday. And I show up every Sunday. I do. If you haven't shared this, share it. I need you to like it, because that kind of gets the algorithm moving, all that kind of stuff. But Doc, hold on. I didn't know this thing was in my face. Let me take this thing out of my face. I don't want this thing in my face. Hold on. I have to find another way to get the phone number up. But listen, so anyway, I didn't go to church. And the reason why I didn't go to church was because I knew that Dr. Evans or Dennis Pittman just said hello as well. But I knew that there you are, okay. I knew that losing my mom only a couple of years ago, going to church on Mother's Day and seeing how everybody was reacting, I knew that would probably put me in a funk. You know what I'm saying? Or put me in a bad mood, or trouble my spirit. And I knew it was going to do it because it started Saturday, right? And so I made a decision Saturday. I said, man, I'm not going to church. I watched it on TV, whatever, but I'm not going to do it. And for me, that was a mental health decision. And I'm going to tell you why, for me, Dr. Evans, that was a breakthrough. Because for years, even as a child, when I couldn't control my anger, or sometimes when I would internalize anger, I would upset whole rooms. You know what I'm saying? I'm walking, I'm sitting in a crowd full of people, wouldn't interact, wouldn't talk, not necessarily have my arms folded, but I was so into myself, inwardly, that I was probably just hard to be around. And a lot of people just didn't tell me. You know what I'm saying? And recently, some people have told me. You understand what I'm saying? And so I'm of the opinion that when you look in the mirror and you see something that needs adjusting, that it behooves us. I'm going to use a preacher word right there. It behooves us to at least make the adjustment, right? So I said, rather than go to church, and mess up everybody's mood, or, or look like I got an attitude, or have people misjudging me, yada, yada, whatever it is, I'm going to sit this one out. You know what I'm saying? Now, it made me think, and you can let me know what you think about this. It made me think, how many times do people show up, but they're not really present? I mean, because was I wrong for not going to church? Talk to me. You're the pastor now. So I'm confessing to a pastor tonight. You talk to me.
Well, I would normally encourage and see the Mother's Day is not the only time that individuals may find it difficult to be in a worship experience with others. Most of the time, this is why I share with members. When I don't see them for a period of time, I know they're going through something. Mm-hmm. So I don't think that's the one occasion. Although I do know that there are those who are there, they're very emotional because their mother has passed. So I take that into consideration also. But it's where you are in the grieving process. We still have to look at that. I was sitting beside a brother. His daughter passed on Christmas morning. Mm-hmm. And he was talking. He brought her up in the conversation. So he was in the worship. He was there, but and one of the signs that you have processed it is when you have more positive memories than the negativity of loss.
Okay. Unpack that a little bit more for some people that might be a little slow like me. Unpack that a little bit more for you.
So now I would think that it's still some work to do in that particular area in order to be able to remember the wonderful times and moments that you spent with your mother.
Gotcha. And this is the thing, and I hear that, and because you said something key there. You said it depends on where you are in the grieving process, right?
Mm-hmm.
And people grieve how they grieve, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, me, I'm not one that really wants to hear a lot of people say it's going to be all right, or I don't want to hear people saying it's it's going to get better, or I've been where you are. You know, when I grieve, I mean, I think Job's journey would have been a little easier had he not had a Bildad, Zophar, and Eliphaz in his life. You know what I'm saying? Because all they sat there and did the whole for so many chapters of that book was evaluate why he was possibly in the situation he was in. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I believe that our processes, and this conversation is make a left turn in a minute. But I believe our processes are individually unique, right? They all have their own fingerprint. They all have their unique strand of DNA. You know what I'm saying? So we can find certain characteristics about certain things. What's up, Jackie? We can do all that, right? But at the end of the day, people grieve how they grieve. You know what I'm saying? And then sometimes you just have to kind of respect, not sometimes, but you have to respect that person's process. Now, I'm gonna ask you a question because you said, and Dr. Evans is a therapist, licensed. So what kind of work do you do to get to a place? Because I'm gonna make this turn towards the grace gap in a minute. I see how God's delivering it right now. But what kind of work do you do to work your way through that process?
Well, one of the things everyone should know that when it's coming up to the anniversary of a loved one's death, if it comes to their birthday, if it's a father, if it comes to Father's Day, mother comes to Mother's Day, you have to give the thought that there may need to be some preparations for that day.
Okay.
Instead of just letting that day come and it finds you wherever it finds you, it's okay to do some preparations, to have some prep work in order to get your mindset in a place, because you know what you're feeling, but the only thing about it, that feeling and that emotion was emphasized just because of that particular day, unless an individual is just struggling with it on a regular basis. So if I ask you, are you struggling regularly with the passing of your mother?
Me?
Yes.
No, not really. It's like I know something to be off. You know what I'm saying? Just be off, and then that'll be Mother's Day, or it'll be her birthday. You know what I'm saying? But it'll be something to just be off. I don't know what it is.
Well, now something is off because again, there is a clear reminder of her absence.
Yeah, but see, growing up, I didn't grow up in the house with my mom, so and y'all don't crucify me, Jackie. I know how you are, but I didn't always remember my mom's birthday like that because it was, what I'm saying, I grew up in a different house, right? As I got older, I started to remember it, but I might not even know the date. You know what I'm saying? I just know we're in October or whatever it is, and then all of a sudden I just feel off, and then I said, that's what that is. I didn't even see the Facebook memory. You know what I'm saying? I didn't see the Facebook memory. I didn't, it was nothing to come on across my timeline to remind me. But something in my spirit would be troubled. And that's go ahead.
Here's my personal situation. My dad passed in 23. Mm-hmm. In June of 24, someone asked me about my dad's passing. And I didn't even know there was an anniversary. And this is the reason. I think about my father multiple times during the week. Multiple times. So I don't think there has been a week since his death where I have not thought about him. So I believe that helps me in the process, because on the date of the month that he had passed, I didn't even realize it because I think about him so often. Wow. But now I think about him from the perspective of the life he lived, what he gave me, and what I in turn tried my best to give him while he lived.
How old was he?
86.
Okay. Had he been ill?
He was getting weaker and weaker, didn't have an appetite. and basically wouldn't eat enough to sustain himself. And we were telling him that you got to eat because you just need something.
I mean to cut. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm sorry. I cut Pastor Evans off. Y'all cuss me. Y'all. I'm sorry. I apologize. But I think I could have rationalized it better had my mom been sick.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? I think if she had been ill or had went through a period, but my mom went in for a surgery because, and I know don't get me wrong, I understand the providential will of God. I know I get it. I mean I know all the cliches. I get all that, right? But my mom went in for shoulder surgery.
Well,
and when the surgery was over, they said it was one of the best surgeries he had ever done. But because they didn't give her blood thinners, and that's what the theory is, But she stands up, goes to the bathroom, and throws a clot in the middle of the night, and so sometimes I think about it because sometimes it's shock. I think because it's still unreal.
Okay.
And it's unreal, and then it becomes surreal, right? Good God. It's unreal because even when my sister gave me the phone call, she said, James, I'm on my way out to this hospital. I can't believe this happened, yada, yada, yada. I got to go see what's going on. Then my little brother called and said, man, I can't believe it. I said, yeah, man, Kim already called me. He said, man, mama gone. I said, what? So it was so unreal. So sometimes I almost forget.
Mm.
You feel what I'm saying? And then all of a sudden I have to turn around and then my spirit's troubled the day before Mother's Day. And then my spirit's troubled the week of her birthday. You know what I'm saying? And so that's why I say, and this is where the conversation stems from. My mental health decision was because I think somebody told me a good definition of mental health is when when the brain is presented with a scenario. How do you come to make a good decision in that moment? That's a good positive mental health. And so prior to that moment, you're talking about preparation. I said rather than go and know how I'm gonna feel. You know what I'm saying? God knows me. He knows my heart. I can give through Givelify. You know what I'm saying? So my money can still get there. But I needed to take that break. You know what I'm saying? That mental break. And I think and even I had to go to work afterwards. And I still felt off at work. You know what I'm saying? It took me a minute to get together, get myself from being, because I really, in those moments, how do y'all in the audience? Let me ask y'all a question. We're gonna get past Evans back in a second. When you all feel like your spirit is off, how do you process? Sue Ann, Myra, Chris, those of you all are Jackie. When y'all are watching, I mean, when you, like, for instance, if you're grieving, do you want to be in the company of others? Or when you're going through some issues, do you like to go through them alone? Do you have to be affirmed? What is y'all's process? And this is open mic night. I'm sorry, I'm not going to dominate the conversation. I want y'all to start. So. But give us some. Go ahead, Doc. What you were going to jump in when I was stopping just a minute ago? What were you going to say?
Well, it still shows that you're still somewhere in the process. Mm-hmm. The reality for me came when I saw my father 4 days before he passed, and I actually took a picture of my father. I had never seen him as weak as he was, and I saw something in him that I had never seen before. So seeing that and knowing that, look, it's not looking good, it gave me time to process it. With you, James, you didn't have that time because, again, you received a good report about the surgery, and you're just expecting mom to be well, and that wasn't the outcome. So I think that initial shock caused you to still be struggling with it, and it has to be a real struggle. How long has it been?
2 years.
Okay, it hadn't been long. So again, somewhere in the grieving process, you are still there, and it's okay to be there, and it's okay to say, I'm going to choose to do this, and I'm going to choose not to do this for your own mental health. Okay,
but the only thing about that is making that decision not to go, not to be in that environment with the wrong attitude, right? Mm-hmm. But there have been so many times in the past that I was. I'm gonna give you an example. I'm gonna give you an example.
that you were there in the wrong mindset?
Yeah, not dealing with grief. I'm gonna give you an example. A couple weeks ago, one of my homegirls, she called me. She said, "Come, I need you to come help me break something down." And I had just gotten off work, long day, yada yada yada. My mindset was really thinking about going home. Mm-hmm. And she called me. And she kind of interrupted with my thought process. And so I went out of my way and went to go help her do what she was gonna do. And then when I got there, I was quiet. I was on my business. I wasn't really smiling. She said I was stepping hard. She said I looked mean. You know what I'm saying? And I didn't look inviting, and if I didn't want to come, I probably shouldn't have came. You know what I'm saying? And my children have told me that recently in the past that I, would sometimes, I make it uncomfortable for people to be around me in certain settings and all this, you know what I'm saying? But most times I'm just really, I'm not upset. I'm just into myself, or I'm just thinking, I'm on my phone, or, I'm like I just said, I'm present, but sometimes I'm not really there. Does that make sense? And I'm trying to think, could that be some type of childhood trauma, something that I need to break, or I don't know, but like I said, I knew yesterday I wasn't gonna mess it up. I wasn't gonna put myself in that position. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense? I don't want to y'all diagnose me on here and somebody be trying to give me medication or anything. I'm just asking questions.
Well, I normally have grace for individuals when they're going through something and they miss a Sunday. But I also tell them the more time you miss from hearing an encouraging word for being around your brothers and sisters, it also gives opportunity for other things to happen. So I would just say guard against, going through a divorce and being at church every Sunday.
Yeah.
Divorce was the death of a marriage, and feeling that and carrying that.
Yeah.
But the support that the members gave me, I took about a month off at one time. That was all I felt like I needed. I went to church every Sunday, but I traveled also during that time. But it was refreshing, and it gave me the time I needed. Mm-hmm. Now here's something that's interesting. Yeah. Going to the place of worship where everyone knows you.
Don't go nowhere, Myra. Your blessing is coming. Hold on, I got you. Stay right there.
It may be easier to change your setting for that Sunday and to go to a place where you're not as known.
Yeah. Like, okay. I got you. And most of the people that responded a minute ago when I asked that question, most of everybody said they're loners. They like to process things by themselves. They like to go through things alone. I got it. But here's the thing for me, because what we've been talking about, and I want y'all to jump in this conversation for real. The phone number's here. If it helps to testify, to talk, Doc is here. Doc don't mind talk. I've had Doc get on the phone with me after a show. And we called a man in Seattle, Washington or somewhere, and he gave that man a therapy session for about 40 minutes to talk that man off the ledge. So we're here talking tonight, and, we're just having a conversation. We're not just having a conversation. But, Doc, I've been teaching this concept. If you all haven't liked this post or shared it, please do it. All right. I've been teaching this concept about grace, right? Because we talked about Joseph, and we talked about grace and all these things. And I said sometimes the reason why a lot of us don't receive grace is because we have been stuck in the grace gap. And what I call the grace gap, this is an acronym that I use. Grace is guilt, it's resentment, it's anxiety, it's condemnation, and it's ego. Grace, guilt, resentment, anxiety, condemnation, ego, all those things, if they are resident in our life and operating, will make us think that we don't deserve grace or keep us from receiving grace, right? Guilt, resentment, anxiety. So here it is. I could have felt guilty about not going. I could have condemned myself about not going, right? But I gave myself grace. And this is what I want to tell so many other people, Myra included, is that we all have to learn how to get beyond the guilt, get beyond the resentment, get beyond the anxiety, get beyond the condemnation, get beyond the ego, so that we can really be transparent. If we ain't gonna be transparent with anybody, we at least need to be transparent with God. What you think, Doc? Am I on to something?
Oh no, I think you should have the freedom to take the time that you need, and that's, to me, is you giving yourself the grace that you need. As a pastor, I gave myself a month. There's actually 5 Sundays. I returned to church on the 5th Sunday, but I didn't preach on that Sunday. Okay. So it's you doing what you need to do. Again, making sure that you're being spiritually fed, making sure that you have fellowship with someone. And remember, the thing that makes it difficult with those who know you is that maybe some people know what you're dealing with. Mm-hmm. When you go into a setting that's not your normal setting, no one knows.
Yeah, I got it. So all my people on in the chat who said they like to be alone, and I get it. I did it. I wrote a whole book about being stuck on the couch. But even while I was on the couch, I tell people that I equate my experience to like Elijah with the J. Elijah by the brook of Kerith. Brook of Kerith being the place of cutting, right? And so I like to equate his experience to surgery, like surgery with no anesthesia, right? But God sustained you in the process because he allowed water to flow in the midst of a drought. He allowed ravens to reverse their nature because they're carnivorous birds that ate meat, but they brought, as Pastor Craig Oliver used to say, they brought sirloin tips and biscuits to Elijah every morning, because God sustained him. He gave him grace, even in the midst of a drought. And I think so many times we find ourselves in droughts, where it seems like stuff that used to work. I preached a sermon last week called "I Lost It and I Got to Get It Back." Because so many people have lost their accent, right? They've lost their cutting edge, that thing that je ne sais quoi, and they're trying to get it because here it is, Alicia, Myra, the stuff that used to work. When it stops working, what do you do then? So you have to give yourself grace. How do you tell people to, Pastor Evans, how do you tell people to put themselves in a position to receive grace?
It's probably thinking most about yourself and what you need and realizing that it's okay to take care of yourself.
Okay.
And there's not a person who is alive. I don't care what your calling is. I don't care how deep your anointing is. There are times in which you just have to take care of you. Everyone else will be okay. Just take care of you. And that's you having the grace to allowing yourself to receive what you need. So if it's time away, it's time away. No one's mad or upset over that. The only thing I tell people is to watch how much time you spend in isolation. God uses solitude for a purpose. Satan uses isolation for a totally different purpose.
You said Satan uses it for a totally different purpose?
Yeah.
All right. Talk about that a little bit more.
Satan isolates us to destroy us. Mm-hmm. God puts us in solitude so that we can draw nearer and closer to him.
So in that point, I guess the sheep know. I know the sheep recognize the shepherd's voice and a stranger.
Yeah.
Won't answer. Go ahead.
Right. And also when you're in that time of aloneness, what your thoughts are. Okay. They're either godly or ungodly. What's your temperament? Are you going into a depression? Or are you at a place of stability where you're looking at your situations, but you're not feeling overwhelmed?
Yeah. I mean, that's the subtlety of the enemy.
Yes.
That's how subtle, Dennis. The subtle the enemy is, right? Because all of us just sat here and admitted how we like to be alone, but in that moment, do we? And I'm using a scriptural reference. Do we have the mental fortitude to put on the whole armor of God at that moment, right? And part of the whole armor of God is the helmet of salvation, which guards your thoughts and guards your mind and all those things. Because that's we're in that moment, and you talk about this some more, Dr. Evans, we're very susceptible and vulnerable in that moment when we're alone.
I mean, the need to arrest certain thoughts, that may be the most important thing when it's just you by yourself. If it's you and you have the saints praying around you, that's totally different. And I think when you're around mature Christians, they understand they don't have to say anything to you. Nothing. I have sat with families and I have not felt a need to say anything. Yeah. And when I say I got ready to leave, they said, man, you just don't know how much you did for us by just being here. You know, that's when you allow God to do whatever he's going to do. One of the things that I always do, if I see someone going far to the left or to the right, to kind of call them back into a more stable place. You know.
So I mean, what do you do? What kind of process do you do to call them back?
Just simply talking. It may be a one-on. We could. The last time you could be in a house full of people with the body of their loved one still there, and there are those who are having positive conversation, and then you may hear something negative. Mm-hmm. You may hear something that needs to be addressed at that moment. You know, and it's never out of I have nothing at stake. The only thing I want to do is whatever God tells me to do. So sometimes it's just telling a person, the Lord has done nothing wrong. Yeah. He's too good to all of us.
Yeah. And I think that comes from really understanding what grace is. Grace, and we've been talking about it for the last couple of weeks. We didn't have to earn it. We didn't have to buy it. You know what I'm saying? We didn't have to barter for it. All that. We didn't have to do we didn't have to manipulate. It didn't have your education, your last name. None of those things mattered when it comes to grace, right? Grace is freely available to all who are willing to receive that grace, right? If that's one of the tenets of the Christian faith. Go ahead.
I mean, when you think about favor, when you think about his kindness, when you think about his love, all of those things are a part of his amazing grace. Mm-hmm. So I think there are times in which he loves on us more because that's what we need. Yeah. I think there are times in which he shows us his kindness in a very unique way because that's what we need. So no, God meets our needs and he meets us right where we are. So we don't have to grow to a place where God meets us. God meets us right where we are. So in the heaviness of feeling the loss of a loved one, God meets us right there. Yeah. In the condition that we're in.
Yeah. And this conversation, it really, because I know Myra's having a tough time. Myra's mother passed not too long ago, so that's what it is. So it's really not supposed to only be about death. It's really not. It's supposed to be about grace in dark moments, and things of that nature. Let me ask you all in the audience right quick. Let's turn it. Have you ever experienced grace when you know you didn't deserve it? And maybe you messed up, maybe life just hit you hard, but grace just showed up. If you've ever experienced grace when you know you didn't deserve it, just drop some fire in the chat for me right quick. Drop some fire in the chat. Or tell us about it. Either one. I see Alicia and Jacqueline having a good conversation there. I see Alicia encouraging Jacqueline. I appreciate you for that, Alicia. But yeah, y'all share this. Let's keep this going. But answer that for me right quick before we move forward. Have you ever experienced grace when you know you didn't deserve it? You messed up. Life hit drop some fire in the chat. Life hit you hard, but grace showed up. You, Dennis Pittman, truth be told, you didn't deserve it. I can think of times over the last 30 years where shut-off notice was on the table. Shut-off notice was on the table, but the check was in the mailbox, and I didn't know where the check was coming from. Because we didn't have cash out back then. I couldn't call Dr. Evans and say, man, cash out me $300 I can pay this bill. I couldn't do that back in the day. But it showed up, or it showed up in and sometimes, Doc, the miracle don't show up in the money, but it might show up in an extension. You know what I'm saying? If I call and say, hey, can I get a few more days? You know what I'm saying? And so anyway, it shows up. You know, grace has a way of showing up. You know why? Because grace isn't just spiritual. It's psychological, right? Guilt will bury you, but grace will break those chains. And that's my point. In order to get out of the grace gap, we have to get beyond the point where we allow guilt to keep us in prisons. Here it is. Thank you, Holy Spirit. Keep us in prisons that we weren't even sentenced to. I'm just saying. It's not spiritual. No. It's psychological. Talk to me. You're the psychologist. I mean, you're the counselor. Talk to me.
Look, so many of our battles are psychological because they start in our mind. Mm-hmm. And once we can learn to allow God to help us and to strengthen us mentally, you know, that is the reason that, you know, before you can ever have a transformed life, you got to have a renewed mind. Mm-hmm. The thinking has to change. And sometimes it's as simple as this. Instead of thinking God is angry with me or is distant from me, telling yourself the Lord is right here.
Yes.
Because he promised to never leave us or forsake us. And that's even if you've gotten yourself into a situation.
He already died for that.
Yeah. he's right there. And he still wants to help. You know,
he already died for that.
Hey, we can't even put into words the idea of unconditional love.
Man, agape. Yeah.
Because in most of our relationships, the love is conditional.
Yeah. Okay, he just messed me up with that one. He said, I'm bar. How you said, Dennis Pittman? Bars. He said the reason why a lot of us can't really conceptualize. They didn't say it like that, kind of like that though. Mm-hmm. They can't really conceptualize his unconditional love, the love that died for what we have not yet done yet, right? He already put an insurance policy in place for that. That's what grace is all about, right? Mm-hmm. He already put an insurance policy in place for that. But because we love conditionally, we can't fathom his unconditional love. Doc, that's bars right there. That's good. Talk some more about that just a little bit more.
Probably the closest example of that would be with our children. Mm-hmm. The closest example it's not with our spouses. The closest example is with our children.
Yeah, I got
that. We love them when we're proud of them. We love them when we're disappointed. We love them when they make us feel good, and we love them when they crush our hearts. We still love them.
Yeah.
And see, that's the type of love that could encourage a person who's on the edge. Mm. That's the type of love that can give someone hope to turn.
Yeah.
You know, because if they feel like all is lost, why bother? So I think that's a relevant point when we talk about just more than a dead situation. We talk about life. Then look, we can't escape the need for His grace.
No.
But also, if we talk about God's grace, then we are called to be gracious to those around us.
Absolutely. And the problem is, and it hit me like a ton of bricks in the last couple of weeks. The problem is the reason why a lot of people can't extend grace is because they have a problem receiving grace. A lot of people are at the point where they don't think they deserve grace. We live in a very punitive society that punishes everybody for everything. Yeah. And so if everybody can send them in jail, lock him up, whatever, vagrancy law, whatever, all kind of things, And so if that's the mentality to lock them up, to incarcerate them, and we sentence ourselves because we feel like we've done something, maybe not criminal, but definitely we've done it, might have been circumstantial, you know what I'm saying? It definitely was a character thing, but whatever it was, when we do something wrong, we're so punitive that we want to punish.
Yeah.
I watched this video one time on Facebook, and I know it was a prank supposed to be, but the dude was making the girl mad, Alicia and Jacqueline. Y'all talk to me about this, Myra. But this girl, this young lady, they were influencers, and this dude called himself going to irritate his girlfriend by opening up several Sprites, like 3 or 4 Sprites in a row. He would open the can, wouldn't drink them, and just kept opening to irritate her. And all of a sudden, she picked up a broom and started hitting that man on the back of his back. You know what I'm saying? Like, God, open up. I'm like, huh? What made you think that was okay? But she felt like there had to be consequences for him opening up her Sprites.
Yeah.
And the way she chose to exact her punishment was by taking a broom and hitting him in the back, in the back of the back with that broom. And we all do it. It might not be swinging with a broom. It might be I'm going to stop talking to you. It might be I'm going to stop calling me. We're not going to call. I'm not. Whatever we do, when we hear this, when we withdraw the right hand of fellowship from somebody for whatever reason, it's like we punish. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know why I got to that point. Oh yeah, because we don't extend grace. That's what it is.
Yeah. The whole idea that the consequences of my actions are not totally in the hands of man. And that is a blessing in itself. That God can rule and he super rules. And there was a brother I know who was looking at one time 45 years in prison. 45 years. And he said, God made a way where I did not spend a day. So by man's standard, that's what he was looking at, 45 years. But by God's standard, and therefore we are thankful to God that he makes the final decision. And God is the only one I know who can change a heart, change a mind, and without the person even knowing it.
But the powerful part about the powerful part about that whole scenario you just said though.
What's that?
If the man knew he wasn't guilty.
Well, now I didn't say that.
Okay, well, did he get proven guilty?
Somehow God moved on his behalf.
Okay.
Because he never told me that he was innocent.
Okay.
But
did he say he was guilty? Did he feel like? But he never said. But you say he never told you he was innocent. So
Most times people start with that. Look, I didn't do this.
Well, but in this scenario, we're not, because of grace. We're not guilty because it's covered already.
Because of
I
God's
was guilty.
Grace, but because of God's grace, in most situations, I know I'm guilty.
Yeah, but
because of His grace, and we can't leave out His mercy. And
in that process, the word justification in Greek, it means almost as just as if I never did it. When grace puts a veil or a filter or a lens on something that's black, uses red to cover it up, it's blood, and somehow it looks white. It looks pure because of grace, and that's the powerful part. And that's what puts us in a point. There you go, guilty but not charged. I like that. Let me put that on the screen. Yeah. Alicia said guilty but not charged. I stand corrected. Yeah, I definitely was guilty. I just didn't look like it. And the reason I didn't look like it is because of how you saw me. And when you saw me through the Savior. And that's what puts me in that. And the reason I know that is because of the faith I possess, right? I used to hear Craig Oliver. I like to quote Bishop Oliver. He says, faith is forsaking all, I trust him, right? Yeah. When I get to the point when I leap into the unknown with only God as my basis, that's all I got. It's my faith. Let me ask y'all in the audience, what's one time, and then I'm going to let you answer this question for us, Doc. What's one time you had to walk by faith, not knowing how it would work, but just believing that it had to? Myra, I bet I know one for you. What's one time you had to walk by faith, not knowing how it would work, but just believing it had to work? You can go ahead, Doc. You can answer that question for us first.
Oh man, I have so many times in my own life. I mean, where I am now, this place in my life I am now, I know that it is nothing but God, nothing. And I think when we say things like that, people say, well, no, you did. Well, I did what everybody else is doing. I did what every godly person would try to do. You know, you try to pull yourself up. You'll try to encourage yourself. You'll try to make decisions that are pleasing to God. And yet, everybody who does those things are not in the same place. So when I say that God has done things for me that I know I don't deserve, I can't even explain it, how I got to this place, but I know who brought me here. And like I said, I can't pick just one just throughout my life. I am the poster child for the grace and mercy of God.
I can definitely. I wrote about it in the book. But until recently, and I want y'all to share y'all's. Myra shared hers. Myra shared her. Myra's cancer journey. I talk about Myra because Myra's a testimony. Myra went to the doctor because she thought she was having a sinus infection, and later found out she had stage 4 Hodgkin's lymphoma. And she was really fighting for her life. But while she's fighting for her life, she had her laptop in the hospital bed with her, trying to work because she thought she knew God was going to heal her. And they did some very, I did a show where, she went through the whole process. And to look at Myra now, if y'all go check out her page, Myra has made a major, major recovery. And not only has God blessed her, but now she shares with others who are on the same type of journey and help them through their scenario with situations and all those types of things. So when you talk about somebody who had to walk by faith, we got people